This video is a detailed guide on how to install and use the Stripe Checkout plug-and-play on your website. In order to install the plugin on your website, log on to your website dashboard, scroll down and click on Plugins and click on Add New Plugins option. On this window, you can see a button for uploading the plugin file. Simply click on the Upload Plugin. From here, you can choose your zipped folder which contains the plugin file and you can simply upload it. Here I am attaching my zipped folder for plugin. Once uploaded, you can click on Install Now button to install the plugin on your website. Once the plugin is installed, you'll get a notification something like this. Click on Activate Plugin in order to activate your plugin on website. Now here you can see your plugin is activated and ready for use. As my plugin is now activated, I'm going to hover on the WooCommerce option, and from here I can see that my plugin is now ready for use. Now let's click this option. Here on the plugin page, I can see that my plugin by default is kept disabled. Now let's check the behavior of the checkout on our test website. Here you can see that I've added a sample product in my cart, and if I click on proceed to checkout, I am redirected to the default WooCommerce checkout. Once I enable my plugin, I will be able to bypass the WooCommerce default checkout and will land on the Stripe checkout page. As we can see, we have two types of integration mode, test mode and live mode. For this purpose, we need both test key and live key along with our webhook sign-in secret key in order to activate our plugin on the website. This test mode option here is for the admins of the website. If we enable this option, then the admin of the website will be able to use this test Stripe and place test orders on the website. In order to get our test secret key and webhook signing secret key, we need to log in into our Stripe dashboard. Before moving on, we should make sure the country and currency on the WooCommerce setting and the Stripe settings should be same. If you are a new user, you can simply register on the Stripe website, otherwise log in as usual. Here you can see that I'm already logged in from my account. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to move on using the test mode. Here I have enabled the toggle. I'm going to click on the developers option. From here I'm going to click on the API keys. Here you can see a section of secret key. I'm simply going to click on the reveal test key button to get my test key. You can click on this text to get it copied. I'm going back on my plugin setting page and entering my test key. For the webhook signing secret key, we have to perform a number of steps. Simply click on the webhooks option. Click on add endpoint button. Here you can enter the website URL followed by the URL provided in the documentation. Here you can add a description about your website. As you can see here, I have added my website followed by the particular URL that have been given in the documentation. Here I have added a brief description about my website. Now from here I'm going to click on the select events button. Here you can see a list of different events. I'm going to select all the events and I'm going to click on the add events button. Now you can see that all the events have been added on your webhook settings. Now I'm going to scroll down and simply click on add endpoint button. Now as you can see, a webhook is created for the website. Simply click on this reveal link in order to get the webhook key. Now copy the text and paste it in the webhook field of the plugin setting. Now since you have both the keys, simply click on the enable and submit the keys. For this notification, make sure that the country on the commerce settings and Stripe settings should be same. In case both the settings are similar, there is no issue and you can simply refresh the page after submitting your keys. Now my keys have been accepted. After this step, you need to visit the WooCommerce settings page. Click on the payments tab. From here, enable the Stripe checkout as the payment method for your website. Save your changes. Now you have successfully added Stripe checkout as the payment method for your website. As I have successfully enabled the WooCommerce Stripe checkout plugin play for my website, let's check the behavior of the Stripe checkout. Here I have added a sample product in my cart. Let's click on the checkout to proceed. Now here you can see I'm redirected to the Stripe checkout page and I have successfully bypassed the WooCommerce default checkout. After enabling the plugin from Stripe settings, there are a number of options open to you: checkout settings, payment methods, and Stripe sessions. Let's explore the checkout settings first. Here you can see there are a number of options provided, such as enabling the shipping address, enabling quantity, enabling phone number, Stripe cancel URL, thank you page, language, temporary order. Furthermore, you can see we have text boxes in order to provide customized text on the Stripe checkout page. In addition to this, there is an option for adding custom fields on your checkout page. As you can see, by default everything will be disabled once you have enabled the checkout. For the Stripe checkout page, it will look something like this. There are no customized options available for now. The first option is enable Stripe setting address. You can see from the tooltip that this option allows the display of shipping address field on the Stripe checkout page. For now, this option is disabled. For example, I enable this option and I click on submit. As you can see, my settings have been submitted. Now when I visit and refresh the checkout page, I can see that the shipping address field is added on the Stripe checkout page, which contains full name, country, address line, city, postal code. This is an additional address that the user or customer can use in order to get more information about the order and details. Next option is of adjustable quantity status. Here I enable this option and click on submit. My settings have been submitted. Now if I check my Stripe checkout page, now there is a quantity widget under my product name. Clicking on this drop down, I can simply adjust my product quantity on the go, and when I update the quantity, the prices also get updated on the Stripe checkout page. The next option is of enabling Stripe terms and services checkbox. If I enable this option, I'm going to get an additional checkbox on my Stripe checkout for which I can provide terms and services and privacy policy. The customer or the end user can simply click on this checkbox and proceed with their Stripe checkout. The next option is of enabling a Stripe phone number. For example, if I enable this option and I click on submit, I'll get this additional phone number field right under the shipping address for the customers to add in the contact information. Now let's talk about the Stripe cancel URL. This URL is used on the cancel link or the back button on the Stripe checkout page. For example, right now I have provided that the cancel URL should be my home page. If the user clicks on the back button on the Stripe checkout page, he or she will land back on the URL provided in this field. For example, I have provided the home page for my website. So on clicking back or cancelling my Stripe checkout, I will land on the home page of my website. The next option is WooCommerce custom thank you page. As you can see, the default tab is already selected, which means that when a customer completes his Stripe checkout, he will land on the default page provided by the WooCommerce. As you can see a sample here, I completed my order and I landed on the WooCommerce default thank you page, which contains the order details, product details, and customer details. This plugin provides you an option to customize your thank you page. Now if I select the custom tab from here, I will be shown two options. The first option is the shortcode field. From here I can copy and paste the shortcode. The next is a drop down field. From there I can select any page from my website to be chosen as a thank you page. As you can see here, I have selected this particular page, custom thank you page, as my custom thank you page for the website. Now as you can see, this is my custom thank you page. I have added some design elements and I have copy pasted that shortcode over here so that I can implement all the order and customer details on my custom thank you page. As you can see, I have completely filled my Stripe checkout form, and now if I click on the pay button, I will be redirected to the custom thank you page that I have assigned. So this is the custom thank you page that I already assigned. As you can see, the order, customer, and product details are all listed via the shortcode. The next option we have is of Stripe checkout language. This language toggle works on the Stripe checkout page. For now, the default tab is selected, which means the English language will be displayed on the Stripe checkout, as you can see here. Now if I select a custom language, for example I selected German from the list of different languages and submitted, then German language will appear on my checkout page. As you can see over here, all that information will be translated to the selected language. The next option we have is of delete temporary order. Now WooCommerce holds a record for temporary orders. Temporary orders are orders which are not yet paid or completed. For example, I added a product in my cart giving a total amount of $45. Now instead of completing my checkout, I moved on to other pages or simply cancelled the website. In this case, my order will remain incomplete and unpaid. For such an order, the WooCommerce records an unpaid order in this temporary category. As you can see from the status of the order, it is pending payment. Now if we do not want to record all such unpaid orders, we can simply enable this toggle so that all the temporary orders will be deleted and then only paid orders will be listed in the WooCommerce orders section. Next, we have a set of different custom messages that we can use on a Stripe checkout page. The text here addresses the position where the text will be added. For example, add message after shipping address means that the edit text over here will be added after the shipping address field on checkout page. Let's add some dummy text over here. Now as you can see, I have added some information for all the positions on the Stripe checkout page. Now let's check the Stripe checkout page. Now from here I'm going to click on checkout. As you can see, the text appears at the given positions. This is before submit, this is after submit, and this is the text that I altered for the terms and services checkbox. Our next option is a Stripe custom fields option. On default, this option is set to be disabled. This option lets you have multiple custom fields on a Stripe checkout page. Simply click on the enable toggle to have access to the custom fields such as add a text field, add a number field, and add a drop down field on your Stripe checkout to diversify the checkout experience. You further have an option to either keep one or have multiple. For example, if I only want to keep the number field, I can disable the rest of the custom fields and only the number field will be available on my Stripe checkout page. Let's submit this choice and see the results. As you can see on the Stripe checkout page, only the custom field size is visible. Rest of the fields are same as we had on the Stripe checkout other settings. Now let's explore the individual settings. For example, let's take our custom drop down field. If I enable this field, I'll get a bunch of options. Number one is the label. Here I can set the label of the field, which can be anything. Right now I have set it to colors. Under the label, we have some drop down values that we can use for the drop down option. For example, since I had made it a color drop down field, I have listed some colors over here. Now the labels section will display the labels that will be displayed on the front end. The values will be the value that you choose to send in your data. Here I have selected the same values as I've listed for the labels. The third option here is if you want to keep this as a required field or as a temporary field or an optional field. Here I have selected as a required field, so the user cannot proceed further without putting any data in this field. Now let's submit our changes and see the results. Now as you can see here, the drop down custom field is added on the Stripe checkout. Here you can check the label. Now when I click on the drop down, I can see the options that I have provided and I can select any. Now you notice a difference here. It shows an optional tag whereas there is no tag over here. Now if we check our settings, then on the number field I have marked it as not required, so it shows that it is an optional field, but for this field the customer should enter a value to proceed with the checkout. In the payment methods tab, we have two types of payment methods, default and custom. As you can see, the default tab is already selected, which means that the default payment method provided by Stripe has been applied on the Stripe checkout page. Now let's check the Stripe checkout page. Here you can see that the default payment method provided by Stripe is selected. Now if I select the custom payment methods, I get a list of the custom payment methods that I can use on the website in order to enhance the user experience. Now for example, I select these two payment methods for my Stripe checkout, and as you can see, the settings have already been saved. Now let's check our Stripe checkout page. Now as you can see here, the payment methods that I selected have now been applied on the Stripe checkout. The Stripe Sessions tab contains a list of all the paid and unpaid orders that have been passed through the website. Here you can filter out the records by customer email. You can choose the start and end date to filter out a certain part of records. As you can see, we have customer email, subtotal, total amount, payment status. Unpaid is for the temporary orders that have not been completed, whereas paid orders are those that have passed through the checkout. You can click on this detail button and a pop-up will appear. Here you can check all the details related to that particular order.